Welcome to my mom review of Duluth, Minnesota, where we visited Lake Superior and we stayed at Fond du Lac Campground. I may have said that wrong, but that's how it's spelled. So for the campground, starting with the bathrooms, they're kind of small as far as there's only one toilet stall and then two shower stalls, but we never ran into an issue. There was one morning where there were a bunch of what seemed to be like college age girls in the bathroom all at once, but we were able to slip in and use the restroom and then slip back out, so it really was never an issue for us. There are also two sets of pit toilets, but it was not a very big campground, so while the pit toilet was closer to our campsite, we always went to the modern restroom. The showers were push button showers. They did have a dry changing area and then the shower curtain and then the wet shower area. They weren't quite as spacious as some of the others we've been to, but there was still plenty of room to maneuver and to get myself and my two little ones all cleaned up. As far as the location of the campground, it was right off of a highway, which is both good and bad. Good because I didn't have to do a bunch of snaking around on country type roads to make it to the campground, but bad because there was some traffic noise. It was not too bad, especially in the overnight hours. As well as being right next to the highway, the campsite was right next to the river, so it did cost a little bit more for one of the campsites right on the river, but it was well worth it. It was amazing to have the bus there literally feet away from the river. To see just how close we were, check out my other video about Duluth, and there are pictures of how close El Pato Grande was to the St. Louis River. The campground did have Wi-Fi. It was not the greatest, but it worked for what I had to do while I was there. Just a little bit of checking email and a little bit of work online. Activities on the campground were actually kind of plentiful. I was surprised. It's a pretty remote, kind of smaller little campground, but there were a lot of activities. So they did have a playground area, so just had like a wooden swing set with a couple of swings and a slide. And there were also games like cornhole, ladder golf, horseshoes. There was a basketball court. There was a game room, so it was a little cabin, I guess you could call it, that had a homemade wooden pinball machine, and it had a table with some card games and a couple puzzles set out. So that would be kind of nice if there was ever a rainy day and you wanted to get away from the camper for a little bit. There was also swimming in the St. Louis River. There was a swimming dock that you could climb down into the water from. There was a fishing dock. We don't do fishing, but it was there. They had a short little nature trail, they called it, just kind of winds through the trees a little bit. And then there was a neighboring playground, so it was across the highway, but the good news is there is a trail from the campground to the playground on the other side of the highway that goes underneath the highway. You just have to find it. We had to get a little help from the camp hosts on that one, so it's kind of tucked away between a couple of camping sites. The sites are 21B and 22 if you ever look at the map of Fond du Lac Campground. And so it's kind of odd because it feels like you have to walk through somebody's campsite to access this trail. But thankfully one of those campsites was unoccupied when we were there. So we were able to cut through there and then walk under the highway and get over to the Chambers Grove playground, which was a pretty big playground. It's also a starting point for several trails that someday I'd like to go back and check those out. Another activity offered by the campground is canoe rentals. So we didn't actually rent a canoe, but we did think about it, but we just kind of ran out of time. One aspect of the campground that, they had no control over is there was a skunk, a resident skunk. Thankfully it didn't smell too much, but it did startle me a couple times. Walking back to our bus from the bathroom 2 evenings in a row, it crossed my path. One evening it was quite a ways in front of me, so it was one of those revelationary, oh look, there's a skunk moments. The other evening I opened the door to the bathroom and there comes a skunk scurrying up the ramp to the bathroom. Needless to say, I scurried down the steps and got out of there very quickly. Alright, so what did we do at Lake Superior? We did take a boat tour from Vista Fleet. I opted for the longer of the two boat tours, but I would say with the kids, the shorter one probably would have been better. They did okay, but the last, let's say, 20 to 30 minutes of the tour, they were starting to get a little bit bored and restless. But I liked the tour to see all that's going on around that harbor area and just to see the vastness of Lake Superior. As far as that boat tour goes, if you do ever decide to do that, you want to get there early. So when we got there, boarding time was 30 minutes before you take off. But, you know, there was already a line formed at that time. And I think the reason was that the seating on the top open deck is limited and it filled up quickly. So we were never able to sit up on the top deck. So if you want to have that opportunity, make sure you get there even before the boarding time starts to get in line. As far as parking, so there are several pay parking lots in the Duluth downtown by Lake Superior. We parked in one that was by what's called the Minnesota Slip Bridge, and it was actually cheaper. So all of them I was looking at online was $10 for the day to park, and so I figured, okay, that'd be $20 for the bus. I pulled into the Minnesota Slip Bridge parking lot, and it was only $14 for the bus for the day. So that was kind of a nice little surprise there. For our going out to eat, we went to a pizza shop. It was called Pizza Luce or Luce. I honestly don't know how it's pronounced, but it was good pizza. They did have a gluten-free crust and lots of vegan options for toppings, so that was a nice little treat. The prices ended up being about $20 a pizza. I ordered 2 pizzas, one large regular type pizza for my kids, and then one gluten-free for myself and my one daughter to share. Okay, now for Lake Superior, we spent our time at Park Point Beach, which is an awesome sandy beach. There was a really big parking lot. So again, as far as parking the bus, I didn't have any issue there. Park Point Beach, it's kind of out on a little thin peninsula sticking out from Duluth. And like I said, it is a sandy beach, where most of Lake Superior, I guess, is a rocky beach. There's a beach house, and so there are restrooms and just a little place where you can escape the sun if you're getting too hot. We were there on a fairly cool, as far as air temperature day. It was maybe 78, 80 degrees, and so it wasn't too hot. The sun was obviously warm, but we had sunscreen on, and near the water at Lake Superior is nice and chilly, but it was also kind of refreshing. So I didn't have my bathing suit on, but kind of wish I did, because I figured it was going to be too cold for me to want to go into it, but you just kind of feel it, and it makes you just want to kind of jump in and feel that cold rush of water. So what do I think overall about Duluth? I think that we definitely need to go back sometime, because there were several things that we didn't get to do that I wanted to do, such as there's a lake walk that's a boardwalk in front of the lake. There is a tower, Enger Tower I think it's called, that is up on the hill a little bit, but it's free to climb up, and apparently the views from there are really, really neat. And it was just really nice overall. So I would gladly go back, stay at the same campground, and explore more of what Duluth has. What did you like about Minnesota?
I was playing at the playground across the world.
What else did you like?
Swimming in a river.
Tell me what you liked about Minnesota.
I liked the playground across the street, that cold lake. I liked swimming in the river.
What did you like?
I
I liked how the playground there. It had like beanbag toss and ladder golf. There's also a game cabin that has like games that you can play. And there's one nature trail. It's just a short trail that goes through the woods.
What did you like about Minnesota?
I liked going to Lake Superior. It was nice even though it was really cold. The place we camped was really cool. So we were right next to the river.